ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Panoptes Soundworks channel. Today we have our first tutorial with the analog Rytm. I would like to cover some functions that I've learned about a little bit more recently. On this channel I try to cover things that I didn't find immediately apparent or intuitive necessarily, but once you know it, they're useful tools, and they are actually pretty intuitive. So let's get right to it. So we're going to take a look at the red menu items found on the top left of the machine here. So first up, I would like to start with sound, because this is a pretty crucial thing to understand here. And sound is a means of saving the parameters for a single pad. So let's say you have a kick drum sound that you like. Let's go ahead and select it. Global, click on your pad, hit Function and Sound. Sound Manager. Let's go ahead and find a slot. I'll just save it over here. Save or store track sound. Okay, replace kick 2. In this case I'm replacing it, and that's fine. Let's save it. We could name it kick kick 2. Okay, so there it is. Our sound is saved, and it is saved to the plus drive, and this means that we could recall the sound in between projects. So the sound is no longer limited to our current project, but in the future, whenever you'd like to use this sound, you could recall it and use it once again. Another feature of the sound submenu is that we could populate the sound pool. So there is a plus drive, and then there's a sound pool which is associated with the project itself. And what the sound pool allows one to do is to assign multiple sounds for one track. This way you could get the biggest bang with the least amount of space. I'll show you what I mean by that here in a moment. Let's go ahead and load a couple sounds here. Let's get kick 2 in there as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select a couple of these sounds by hitting yes. Tap right, copy to sound pool. Great. So now we could go ahead and see our sound pool by clicking to the left and hit view pool, and you'll notice that we have our 4 sounds here. Now, you'll notice when you're scrolling through your sound, your plus drive saved sounds, that these pads will light up here in light orange. Now, what this signifies is which pads the saved sound could be loaded to. You might have noticed already that some of the machines are exclusive to specific pads. For example, you can't load a hi-hat machine to the bass drum pad, and you can't load the bass drum machines to the hi-hat pads, and so on. So these dimly lit orange pads signify where you can load these sounds to. So now that we have a couple sounds in our sound pool, let's go back and put them to use. I'm going to select a fresh pattern here. And on one track, I'm going to put in a couple triggers. And by holding down the trigger and scrolling the level knob, we can see our sound pool track sounds. So let's go ahead and select a couple here. Let's do a snare, get a kick, and the other kick, and let's try that clap over here. Now when I hit play, you'll notice that on one pad we are using bass drums, clap, and a snare, which is very useful. This way you could you could do a kick and snare on one track and have room to do much more with your other pads. It's a nifty little trick. Now, let's go to kit. Actually, one last thing. Under sound, we have a couple options here, so let's explore that. You have the sound browser, which lets you browse your sounds. Sound manager, which allows you to save and copy your sounds to the sound pool. You have a clear track sound, which will clear it to its default state, or its last saved state, I believe. You could rename your track sound if you'd like. And you also have sound settings, which allows you to choose your machine, chromatic mode, chromatic destination, envelope reset, velocity to volume. It's basically the same thing you get as holding function and clicking on any of these guys over here. Get the same menu. It's just another way to get to the same place. Great. So now let me show you what kit does, because kit is very useful, and for the longest time I wasn't really using it, but once you read the manual, you'll find that it is a pretty nifty tool. So once you have a collection of machines, you have a kit that you're happy with. All right. You could hold yes, save, and click kit. Kit 1 saved. Another way you could do this is by holding function and holding kit, and here you have a save kit option as well. Now, this will give you a basis to work from. If you're worried about changing parameters and losing sounds that you have in your current project, well, worry not, because you could save it as a kit. Go ahead and experiment your heart out. Let's make some changes here. Sounds weird, right? So if you're displeased, you could always just hit no and FX or kit, and that'll bring it to its initial state that it was saved in. Oh, great. Yeah? What's up, bro? Yeah, go ahead. Alrighty. So now that we have a kit saved, you could go ahead and experiment, and you could actually have multiple kits per project. Your patterns reference the kit. So let's go ahead and make some changes. I will change the bass drum machine to FM, change the closed hat to metallic, change the cowbell to metallic as well, and maybe change the clap to a snare machine. So now we have a different set of sounds. And let's go ahead and hit function and kit and save this kit as kit 2. Kit 2 saved. Nice. So now we have 2 kits. And we could have our pattern reference kit 1 or reference kit 2. There are a total of 128 kits available per project. If you want to revert to your other kit, you could hold function kit, load kit, and select kit 1. And theoretically... Oh, wait, why didn't it change? Let's see. Why is it... Oh, there it is. I'm not quite sure why that took two tries there, but we're back to kit 1 now. Great. So, unlike sounds, which are saved to your plus drive, kits are specific to your project. So you can't transfer kits necessarily, but you could save your kit in the form of individual sounds and load them into future projects and recreate your kits like that. Great. Let's see what else we have here. We could clear kit, save kit, load kit, reload. So reload, as I showed you before, takes it back to its saved state. We also have track routing here, which you could set to global or you could route your 12 pads to the main and effect sends to your liking. I think that's everything in terms of kits and sounds for now. Let's go ahead and take a look at track and pattern. So let's say we're making a, we have a track, a kick drum track. So let's go ahead and make a sequence. Let's say you're pleased with it. Let's hit yes and hit track. Track 1 saved. So now you can make some changes. Let's say you're displeased with the changes you've made. You could go ahead and hit no or reload and hit track. And that'll revert our sequence back to what it was saved as. This is a nifty way of experimenting with sequences and reverting back if you are displeased with your changes. Now, pattern is roughly the same function. However, it recalls the sequences for the entire kit, essentially. So let's say, let's go ahead and do a clap pattern here and maybe some hi-hats like this and a cowbell, yeah? And let's hear it. Hey, nice. All right. Let's hit yes and pattern. It's a little bit ridiculous. Okay. Just like last time, no reload and pattern. And your pattern is back to its last state. Simple but useful. Let's continue. Last but not least, we have our song menu. And what that lets us do is save our songs. I'm planning to do a video about song mode on the machines. I'd like to cover some of the differences between the analog Rytm, the analog 4, and the Octatrack's internal song sequencer, because they behave differently. Actually, I think it's called the arranger on the Octatracks. So here, let's say we have a sequence. Now, one other thing I wanted to show here is that we can have different patterns pointing to different kits. And that is done so. Let's say we have pattern 1. So I'm going to select A1. Let's load kit 1 for pattern 1. And for pattern 2, let's load kit 2. Okay. And now we can alternate between the two, like so. So patterns reference kits, and you could have 128 kits and a bunch of patterns. Each pattern could be referencing a different kit, and this way you could have quite a bit of variety within your project. And basically it frees you from the confines of using 12 sounds. Now you could use way more. I'd have to do the math, but it's a lot. Back to song mode here. Let's create a little song sequence. Go ahead and press activate song, function edit. Let's hit function yes to create our first row here, first command row. Let's make it a simple sequence like so. Bam. And now when we go ahead and hit play, it's going back and forth. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's because it played from up here, didn't it? That's interesting. Great. So now that we have a little song, we could go ahead and save it. Let's name it song 1. Now the way I'm typing in these words here is I'm holding function and using the arrow keys to select what I want. So there's song 1. Let's save it. Now we could go ahead and change our sequence. Let's make it going from A3 to A1 this time, so it'll be going backwards. And we could, let's see if reloading works with song. I'm curious about that. No, I guess reloading does not work with song. Okay, but I'm sure we can save song 2. And now you can go ahead and switch between your 2 songs. This gives you plenty of options for sequencing patterns and chains of patterns and switching between them. So with all this flexibility within one project, you could have multiple songs easily. It just takes a little bit of resourcefulness. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully these tips were useful. I especially find the shortcut yes and hitting sound, kit, track, or pattern. Oh, the song saves too. Let's see if it reloads. Oh, it does reload. Okay, great. You just can't be inside the song edit menu. So if you were wondering what the save and reload words meant here on your selectors here, they reference this. So we could reload our kit, could reload our sound if you want to go back to putting the sound back to what it was. Oh. Great. Alrighty. Well, that's it, folks. Hopefully you found this useful. I'm sorry about all the miscellaneous noise going around in the background. So have a good one.